Brad Garlinghouse recently surprised everyone by stating that he believes ETFs will become more significant in the cryptocurrency space in the coming year or two. What events do you see occurring in the cryptocurrency field over the course of the upcoming year? Additionally, I was curious about the amount of money in the ETF sector. I also have a lot of XRP and Ripple changes to discuss. Let's watch Brad Garlinghous's video first, though. What are your thoughts on this as well? Do you believe that the ETF floor was discussed too much? No, without a doubt. I mean, it's obvious that everything you were discussing was data. However, I believe you should take a closer look and see that issues with US regulations prevented these ETFs from being created. Over $700 million has poured into XRP ETFs in the past 2 or 3 weeks, primarily from investors seeking access rather than holding their own money or something. Nevertheless, cryptocurrency only accounts for 1% or 2% of the ETF market overall. In a year, anyone here can wager that figure will be greater than 1% or 2%. They will continue to arrive. Indeed, it is possible to look back in time and state, okay, there are still a billion Bitcoin ETFs or whatever data you used up there. However, do we really believe that cryptocurrency ETFs would account for just 1% or 2% of the entire ETF market in a few years, say 2026? No way. The fact that Ripple is in a situation where we see a lot of intriguing activity from institutions that have been on the sidelines makes this one of those macro tailwinds once more. Perhaps they didn't want to take a chance or they didn't know enough about the regulations. Regardless, they have been on the sidelines. Now they are becoming involved. Small at first, they will walk, crawl, walk, and finally run. It appears to be going to be a breeze. All right. What kind of funds are contained in ETFs? ETFs currently hold tens of trillions of dollars, or roughly $13 trillion in the United States and little under $19 trillion globally. Do you also think it's a substantial sum of money? Why do crypto-focused ETFs and ETPs contain roughly $150 billion, $19 trillion globally, or $150 billion when you think about it? As you can see, there is a lot of space for growth in this market because of cryptocurrency ETFs like the spot XRP to ETF, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and other currently flowing assets. According to recent industry figures, the value of US ETF assets is over $13 trillion. According to data from the Month and the Investment Company Institute, US ETFs are worth roughly $12 trillion. Depending on the market, this can be anywhere between $12 and $13. Currently, there are 18.8 trillion global exchange-traded funds ETFs covering 15,000 products worldwide. This indicates that around a fifth of the assets in all funds worldwide are held by ETFs. More than half of all ETF assets are managed by large managers like Vanguard and iShares. We've all heard of Vanguard, right? We've learned a lot about them in the past several days. Given that the market is currently valued at $150 billion, where do you think it will expand over the coming years? Are large corporations likely to invest more in cryptocurrency as a result of all the rules and regulations? Do you believe we'll receive less? You ought to do more research if you predicted that we would receive less. But if you went in, we'll probably get more. You're absolutely correct. I adore it. Crypto ETFs are back, all right? Until 2026, we'll accelerate. This is the weekly flow of cryptocurrency assets. As you can see back here, we were profiting enormously from Bitcoin and Ethereum. However, due to the market's recent volatility, we aren't performing as well. However, I believe that things will improve once more and take off. I neglected to mention that. This clip is 25 seconds long. Ralph Paul is this person. He predicted that Bitcoin would skyrocket in 30 days. We'll proceed after I play this video clip. It's been a waiting game because the market has been drifting sideways. However, people tend to forget that it was the same last year as well. It peaked early last year and did nothing for the remainder of the year, in case you were unaware. On the internet, everyone was really upset. They were all spitting and shouting at one another. In November and December, it took off like a rocket after that. Additionally, this time, I believe it's somewhat the same. The rocket ship is built on that this time. All right? I therefore wanted to let you know that we currently have $990 million in XRP ETF assets under management. Spot treatments are what these are. The $1 billion milestone is rapidly approaching. And we observed this level of market volume today. On December 3rd, you purchased spot XRP ETFs valued at $33.1 million and leveraged XRP ETFs valued at $31.2 million. $64.3 million, that is. On December 4th, this will probably be the first thing you see. Our objective is to complete all of this content for you. I sincerely appreciate all of your assistance. We appreciate your likes and comments. You guys are truly great. I'll update you on the situation. And I've got your back. As you are aware, XRP has 9.6 million shares. XRPZ has 11.39 million, and XRPC is a common stock. 6.5 million shares of Capital One. Indeed, Grayscale was mentioned by Chad Steingraber. All right, so we advise our client to invest 55 billion or 0.5% of their total assets in this. In a year, what can 55 billion rubles purchase? These are the figures. It has been a week since 55 billion, assuming that allocation proceeds slowly. In 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day, a lot of items will be released. Next, let's assume that XRP is worth $2.17. That is the fixed number. Obviously, if there was this much desire, the price wouldn't be this high. The OTC desk would run out of XRP, so they would have to purchase it from platforms. Although these figures are most likely inaccurate, they provide us with a clear understanding of why they lack sufficient XRP to fully investigate this. You must obtain it. When XRP became regulated 3 years ago, my acquaintance told me about it, and others will start to take notice. Institutions will then begin to make significant use of those items. I may want to purchase some. What would happen if 100 million more people join the cryptocurrency market and they all want XRP? There isn't enough for everyone right now. We don't have other lending firms, ideas, businesses, and a lot of other stuff. You can see where this is headed. Best wishes to you. What do we anticipate happening here then? The Federal Reserve believes a rate reduction is likely. On December 9th or 10th, we ought to hear something on this. I'll get this Paul Barron clip. In addition, I think that the retail industry will suffer from the growing cost of living and lower income unemployment as the crypto sector continues to depreciate. We already have a K-shaped economy. That, in my opinion, will negatively impact investors' sentiment generally, which will raise volatility and make things more difficult in the near term. I would consider Powell's adherence to the Fed's 2% inflation target. Keep in mind that many of you are unaware of how inflation accumulates over time. That implies that it never stops rising. The fact that we don't have enough jobs at the moment is unacceptable. Additionally, I believe Powell is attempting to downplay the significance of this point. When he arrives in December, I think he will have a cut. Since a successor will be arriving shortly after him, I think the next course of action in that case will be to force his hand. Whether Hassett or someone else is selected is irrelevant. The administrator will probably be a pro-Trump candidate, and they will begin making cuts. The rate of Fed funds could be. Whenever they desired, they might lower it by a full point. This, in my opinion, will support the growth of the AMA markets. Whether that occurs in March, April, or May will be determined in large part by the market. What does this all mean? It indicates that in the first quarter of 2019, Jerome Powell will step down as Fed chairman. After that, Trump will choose the people he wants to appoint. We believe he will include Trump's right-hand man, Kevin Hassett. Put otherwise, Trump would have the power to determine the actions of the Fed. Rates will begin to drop extremely quickly. I'm not sure if that's a good or terrible notion. The issue is that printing money and cutting interest rates will lead to inflation, which we will eventually have to deal with. However, you should reevaluate your credit cards if you want to purchase a home,